Hello, Rebels, and welcome back to my life.
It's International Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Me and the kids are probably going to watch The Empire Strikes Back tonight, if the wife will let us.
But I don't have a special Star Wars video planned for you tonight. Instead, I want to talk about last night's episode of Game of Thrones.
No, we're not going to do a recap and commentary like we normally do, because last night's episode had one event
of special significance.
Really quickly, spoiler alert for last night's episode of the show, and boy, it's a doozy. Now, if you watched the Game of Thrones TV show, but you've never read the books, there's a chance that you've never heard the phrase R plus L equals J. That is a fan theory that has been circulating around with book readers since it came out in A Clash of Kings many years ago. But last night, it was brought onto the show and trumpeted forth with great fanfare and loud horns, although you may not have noticed it.
Did it seem odd to you last night that, like, more than one person was telling stories about a guy named Rhaegar Targaryen?
Rhaegar Targaryen is Daenerys Targaryen's brother, and when Littlefinger was talking with Sansa in the Winterfell family crypts, he told the story about how Rhaegar won a knight's tournament back before the Civil War. When a knight wins a tournament, they get a little crown of roses that they're supposed to bestow upon the fairest lady present, and if they're courting a lady, obviously they're going to give the crown to her, and if they're married, then they're going to give the crown to their wife, unless they want a really uncomfortable home situation. Now, Rhaegar already was married to Elia Martell of Dorne, the sister of Prince Oberyn. You remember the guy from last season who had his head crushed? But when Rhaegar won this tournament, he rode right by his wife Elia and went to Lyanna Stark, Ned Stark's sister, and he gave her the crown of flowers, so the two of them obviously had a thing. But then, as Sansa said in the show, Rhaegar then kidnapped and raped Lyanna. Or did he? Later, Old Man Selmy, Daenerys' bodyguard, tells a story about Rhaegar that makes him sound like a pretty cool guy, not a kidnapper and a rapist. But more importantly, in the books, Daenerys has a vision about her brother. Actually, she had multiple visions about him, but the one that we're focused on is him standing over a woman nursing a baby, and he looks down fondly at the two of them and says, "He is the prince that was promised, and his is the song of ice and fire." Now, Lyanna Stark was betrothed to Robert Baratheon, and he loved her very much, so he started a rebellion, and they conquered the Targaryens, and he became the new High King. And Robert Baratheon declared in law that anybody related to the Targaryens was to be killed. It didn't matter how young they were, or what their relationship was, or who else they were related to. That's why the Mountain, the gigantic guy, killed Elia Martell and her children, which is what Prince Oberyn was so pissed off about. Now, sometime during the war, Ned Stark found his sister Lyanna held captive, as he thought, dying from some unknown cause. So let me pose a question. If she was dying from childbirth, and if Ned Stark found her with a baby who was half Stark and half Targaryen, what would he do about that? Would he tell his friend Robert Baratheon about the baby, knowing how much Robert loved Lyanna, and also knowing that Robert had declared that any Targaryen child was to be put to death immediately? Or would he keep the baby, his nephew, a secret, bring it home after the war, and tell everybody that it was his bastard son, Jon Snow? They hinted at this even more broadly in the show last night when Stannis Baratheon was talking to his wife, and she called Jon Snow a bastard birthed off of some tavern wench. And Stannis says, maybe. But that wasn't Ned Stark's way. It totally wasn't Ned Stark's way. We know that. Everybody knows that. And that's because Jon Snow isn't Ned Stark's son. He is Ned Stark's nephew, and also a Targaryen, and according to the laws of succession, the actual High King of Westeros. That is R plus L equals J. Rhaegar Targaryen plus Lyanna Stark equals Jon Snow. And you have now been thrust face first into a conspiracy theory that book readers have been freaking out about for 17 years. So we're a little excited at this point, because by featuring all of those details in last night's episode, George R.R. Martin did everything short of coming to our door and saying, hey, you know that fan theory you've been cooking up? You were right. That's this week's Game of Thrones, everybody. Bunch of other stuff happened on the show. Too excited to talk about it. Thank you so much for watching. An extra special shout out to my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome, and I hope you liked your exclusive weekend videos over the weekend. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye!